Hey everybody, how are you on this awesome day? Today we are going to start editing your live photos. So a big thanks to Marta Mendez who sent over our first photo to edit your photo. Thank you so much. I am Giselle Behrens and this is Photo TV NYC with live tutorials of photography every day at 12 p.m. and at 3 p.m. Yours truly. So I do want to start out this video with a big thanks to Marta. Marta, if you're watching this, and I hope that you are, I do have a little surprise for you and for everybody else watching. I just wanted to let you guys know that I know that many of you out there don't have Lightroom. Now, Lightroom is more for photographers, beginners, basics, and intermediate and advanced as well. But if you're looking for a free and quick solution, I do use this app on my cell phone, and it's called the Snapseed app. And actually, it's on the left. It says Lightroom Adobe, sorry about that. It should say over here, this one should say, and I'm just going to edit it over right now. This is Snapseed, and it's from Google. So thank you, Google, for this free tool that you provided us to edit our photos really quickly. Tomorrow at 12 p.m. we are going to be doing a tutorial on how to fix your photos directly on your cell phone with a free option. Now, if you do have Lightroom, that's awesome. Follow along because we're going to be comparing the differences tomorrow with our Lightroom photo that we're doing today and with our Snapseed. Okay? So that's a surprise. I hope that you guys like it. Please do remember to subscribe to the channel. It helps me and it helps you guys because then I can give more free tutorials for everybody that is interested in photography. And just go ahead and like that video. Thank you so much for your support. Let's us start. So I'm just pulling up my Lightroom window so I can share it with you guys, and it's right there. So this is Marta's photo. She took it with an iPhone. Thank you, Marta. And it is in JPEG format. So for any of you that have seen my previous tutorials, remember that taking them in RAW will give us more flexibility, but the reality is that many of us out there, if not almost everybody, that is just a regular person that wants to take some really awesome photos, and that's almost all of us, we do take our photos on JPEG when we are on our phone. Now, I know that the Samsung, thank you Mom for this tip, does take photos in RAW, and I haven't had a chance to play around with those. So I promise that I will do a tutorial on that and find out if iPhone has the same option. But this one was I think that it was like a year back or a couple of years back. Martha, if you're watching, you can comment on the live chats and let us know when it was. And it was taken on JPEG. So the first thing I do want to do is check out my information. What information am I working with? What is my file? How big is it? And you can press your hotkey I, which just popped up on your screen, just to bring up that information, and it's going to come up on your upper left-hand side. So over here, you can see that the size is 1024 by 768, which is pretty small. But then again, it's our reality. It is what we're living. Many times we find that amazing photo and it's just not that huge and perfect file to work with. So let's see what happens when we do edit a JPEG at 1024 by 762 on Lightroom. So you can just toggle your I button and turn that information off because we do want to have as much open space on our working space to work with our photo. So I'm going to start with my basic tab over here on develop. And I'm going to open that up and start playing around with the exposure. So I'm going to up it at around here and give it some contrast. And you guys can just feel it out. If you want it to be a little bit brighter, you can open it up. I feel that the mountain starts losing a lot of that punch, of that aliveness that we're looking for in this photo. So I'm going to just bring it back down to around 0.5. And the contrast, you can bring it up, I think at around plus 30 is fine. This is personal preference as a photographer. Marta did mention that when she took the photo, the colors were so alive. It was such a beautiful scene. And when she took a look at her photo, even though iPhone does take really good photos, the colors just weren't there for her. And I agree, because there's a lot of haziness. There might have been some fog going on around here, but I do believe that these colors can be much more vivid, as well as the reflection on the lake. So all of these details is what's going to make your photo pop out. So we're going to go back to our basic module over here, our basic tab, and we're going to go down to our first tip of the day, which is, you know it is tip 1, D Haze, clarity and texture. So D Haze is going to help us eliminate some of that haze, as the name says, on the photo. So I'm going to start out with my D Haze, work my way up to clarity and texture, because D Haze is the most sensitive of all the 3 sliders. So I'm just going to subtly augment this and see how it affects it. You guys can start seeing on the screen how these trees become more alive, and even their bodies, which are such cute kids, oh my god, they start just becoming alive, as happy and joyful as they are. And now I'm going to go with my clarity. Now, I usually zoom it at 100%, but because this photo is a smaller size in photo, if I click the Z button, which is my hotkey for zoom, what's going to happen is that I'm actually going to zoom out, because I'm working in more than 100% now that this photo is smaller. So I'm just going to work with what we have. We're going to make sure that it says fit on the navigator over here on the upper left, just to make sure that we have the largest photo that we can in our working space, because we always want to see what we're working on, right? So going back to our tip, we're going to go to clarity, and we're going to augment clarity and just see what's going on over there. And with clarity, you do start losing some saturation. You don't want to go too much with the clarity. Clarity is going to give it a punch in the midtones. It's going to darken up our shadows just a tad. And our favorite one for sharpness is texture. So you want to augment your texture. Again, this photo is very small, so you want to be careful to not start breaking up the image too much. If you do pump up your texture all the way up, you can see that some strange artifacts start coming up over here. So I'm just going to reset that by double-clicking on the word texture. You can always reset any adjustment on Lightroom by double-clicking on the word. That's a cool little tip, and it saves you some time. And I think that around here, I'm happy with my image. Because we did the clarity and the D Haze, the exposure overall on the image did go a little bit darker. So we can go back up on the same basic module and just augment our exposure slightly until this area of the photo is where we want it to be. And I think that right now it's a perfect point for me. Now we're going to continue going down, and we have vibrance and saturation. I'm just going to play around with both sliders and augment the saturation and the vibrance of the photo. This photo is pretty grayed out, and as we said before, we want to make it become alive. So I want to see what type of colors we're working with, which trees are going to start becoming affected, and I want to pay special attention to their faces, because I don't want their faces to go too saturated and look like Willy Wonka's factory, you know? So I'm just going to up it around there and augment my vibrance at around 12. Just with those small general edits, we can start seeing our photo, how it has changed from the before and the after. You can toggle your backslash button, and that's your hotkey, to take a look at the before of the image. So if you do go ahead and do that, you'll see that this is your before. It looks just like a completely gray photo. Probably dismiss it and take another one. But hey, remember that you can always edit, and this is what this channel is about, always editing your photos to just make them pop out and look amazing. You do want to try to keep your photos as realistic as possible when you're trying to make those colors pop, because you don't want them to become too wacky. So we're going to close up our basic tab right now, and we're going to jump into our second tip of the day, which are the vignettes. So a vignette is going to give us some darkness on the edges. Now, why use vignette? Because we do want our eye to stay where the brighter part of the photo is. And in this case, we want the eye of the photo to play a game between our beautiful kids here and these trees over here. So we want to seal up the photo and just make these two awesome kids pop out as alive and lively that they are. So we're going to go to our effects tab over here, and in our first slider, which is called amount, we're going to go negative to the left, and you can start seeing how by contrast this area becomes brighter in the photo, but we're not really adjusting that area, we're adjusting all the edges to make them look darker, so the center area looks brighter and pops out. And that is how our eye usually and naturally works. Wherever is darker is going to make whatever's next to it brighter. So we do want to make sure that we have it in a place where we're satisfied, and I think that around here I am satisfied. So we're going to jump over to our tip number 3 of the day, which is masks. Now here is where the magic really starts happening. Let's go to our before and after, and you can start seeing how all of the colors became more alive, how the center of the image is just really starting to pop out. Now our main focal point are these awesome kids with these smiles, rather than such a flat image in which we started that everything just dissipates and disappears within the photo. Now masks are going to give us even more control as photographers and as lovers of photography to bring out the areas that we most want to bring out. It's just so blue and so cool, and it really doesn't make sense with this part of the mountain and the trees, which are so beautiful, so bright, yellow and colorful. So we're going to try to bring this cool and dark and blue area to balance out and look more like this area. We're going to do that using masks. So guys, go ahead and press your M key. You know it, that is the hotkey. Try to work with hotkeys so you can have a faster workflow, and you will become faster editing photos as well. I'm going to go to my M, and that gives me a linear gradient. You can do them either linear or radiant, and we're going to go with a linear gradient, which means that this gradient over here is going to be like a block rather than as a circle. So you want to make sure that your adjustment is nice and feathered. Right now, I want you to go to the word effect and double click on that to make sure that we have all of our sliders in 0 and that we're not doing any adjustments that are unintentional. So now that I have my mask over here, you can hide your mask by pressing the hotkey H, just so you can have a quick preview of how the image is looking with the mask hidden. And you can even work with your mask hidden if these lines do bother you. So I'm just going to go ahead and hide them with the H, and I'm going to go negative on my exposure just to bring it a little bit darker. And the secret right now with us is going to be the white balance. So why is this mounting seen as too blue? Because the white balance for some reason is coming up here as cool, too blue, and here it's much warmer. So now that we have our mask on the top, and you can toggle your hotkey O just to see where your active mask is affecting, and you're going to have this awesome pink or red mask pop up. This pink mask is actually telling us which pixels in the photo are being affected by our adjustments. So I'm going to toggle that O again, and we're going to go to our temperature, which is our white temperature, and add some warmth to it by sliding this slightly to the right. And just like magic, you can start seeing how this mountain becomes one with the yellow tones. Yep, believe it or not. Take a look at the mountain, don't blink. I'm going to reset the temperature so you can see the before and after of the adjustment. There it goes, there it goes, there it goes, and there it goes. Now you don't want to go too yellow because then it starts looking weird, looks intervened, and if you're looking for an artsy scene, then there you go. You're welcome. But no, we're looking for a realistic scene, and we want this to be as warm as the trees on the bottom, not warmer and not less warm. But right now you can see that the sky also started to come a little bit wacky and started to become yellow as well. But no problem, because in Lightroom, as it's a non-destructive process, you can add masks as many as you want, one on top of another. So we're going to go again over here, and we're going to press on New in your mask. You're going to reset it by double-clicking Effect. We're going to do our little mask over here. Press Hide to unhide it, your H. And we're going to decrease the saturation because we don't want any type of color in this sky on the top right. We want it to be nice and neutral and clean, so all of the attention of the colors comes more to the mountains and to the kids over here. So I'm going to, while I have my mask active, just diminish the saturation, and you can see how this sky is nice and gray right now. If you want to see it before and after, just delete that mask. You'll see over here that it's all tinted yellow. Command or Control Z, and there you go. Awesome. So now I'm going to toggle my M button again, and I'm going to hit my Tab Shift shortcut. And that Tab Shift shortcut is actually going to give us a large image in our Lightroom, as large as possible. And it's going to hide all of the tools that you have around. I love doing this because I want to have an immersive experience when I'm editing the photos, to make sure that I feel it. As a photographer, I need to make sure that I'm feeling the photo, I'm feeling the moment. If there's anything missing that I can add, or if there's anything that is too much that I can reduce to the photo. So I take a look at this, and although I'm pretty happy with my results, I notice that all of the trees are just too yellow. And I see how there are some trees that are trying to start becoming orange or red, but they're really, really more on the yellow side. So we're going to do a little trick with this. I'm going to show you 2 tips for this, and right now you're just going to toggle your Tab and Shift hotkey just to come back to our working space, our regular working space. And the first way you can do it is with HSL under the General Adjustments. This is a selective adjustment, and you can start sliding the Hue button and see what happens if we grab this tool and start dragging this down and dragging this up. As you can see, if I drag it up, all of the photo becomes green, and this is because it's grabbing each and every color that my cursor is touching, and in this case it was yellow, orange, and red. So I do not want this look right now. Looks springy, right? So what happens if I go the other way and I go down? I start seeing my reds come up, but Oopsie, look what's going on with the kids. Remember how I told you to pay attention to the faces? Because you do not want Willy Wonka kids on this photo. You want cute and happy kids. So I am going to reset my hue by double-clicking on the word. This option did not work. So we're going to do a little trick. It is a little bit advanced, but you guys can follow along. I won't go fast, I promise. On your mask tab, and again, that is the hotkey M as in mask, you can open it up and make sure that all of your effects are zeroed down. That way, all of your sliders are going to be zeroed down, and you're going to create one mask that is going to grab the top part of the photo over here. So anything that is outside of the mask will not be affected because we're happy with how this part looks. So I'm going to grab and just drag it down from the top to the bottom. This way we have a nice feathering effect over here going on. And I'm just going to toggle back that O. I just wanted to make sure that nothing on the bottom is being affected. We're going to go and scroll down over here where it says range mask. So right now range mask is off, and usually you do have it off if you are doing some selective adjustments with 100% of the area that is selected. But this is my little bonus for you guys. Are you ready? Mask in a mask. What? Mind blown. Guys, we're going to do a mask in a mask. Giselle, what are you talking about? That means that we're going to selectively choose areas only in this mask for the adjustments to take place. And we're going to do that by going to mask, and in this case we're going to turn on our color. So when you're in color, this part pops up and you're going to have a little eyedropper tool appear. With this eyedropper tool, we're going to do some magic. I'm going to toggle off the mask because I do want to see which type of colors I am selecting, and I'm going to grab it, and your cursor starts becoming that eyedrop tool. So I'm going to grab anything that looks orange. I'm just going to click on it, and if you can see on your screen, there's a tiny eyedropping tool that appears and stays in the area that you selected. So I'm just going to select randomly a few orange spots where I think that the trees were redder and more orange than they're appearing right now in the photo. And right now I selected one. And actually, if you do want to select multiple like I just did, you have to press down your shift key and the plus appears. Right now I was selecting everything and the eyedropping tool was jumping from one place to another. To select multiple spaces, which is what we want to do right now, just leave your shift key pressed until you have the little plus next to your eyedropping tool. And now you can see that you have 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 places. You can just... Oh, actually there's a top of 5. You see, we're all learning over here. There's a top of 5 that you can adjust. Awesome. Now you know. And once you have these selected, and again, I selected the orange trees because these are the ones that we want them to become redder or more red. So we're going to augment our saturation, and you can see how everything starts becoming more saturated. So in order for us to be more selective with the color, you have this slider over here in amount, and we're going to slide this slider a little bit closer to the eyedrop tools and then a little bit more to the right and see what's happening. So if we slide to the right, our eyedropping tool is going to be more specific to whatever area we selected, which is what we want. If you go to the right, it's going to be a more ample selection, and it's going to start affecting our yellows as well. We do not want to affect yellows right now. So I'm just going to reset this, go here, more towards the left, augment my saturation. I'm going to start dehazing this just a little bit and to see what happens. And I'm going to diminish my exposure just a tad to bring more alive these colors. If you feel that you want to just go back and reselect some of the areas, you can definitely just go back and click. And you can even leave your click like this. You can see that you have a little white line coming up. You can leave it selected on, and the adjustments are going to select any colors that you have in that area. So I think that around, let's check it out. I'm just going to leave it around here. You can play around and just see how the colors start being affected. But although I do see some saturation becoming more alive in the reds, it's not exactly where I wanted it to be. I want it to be more red. So now that we know that we're very specifically in our reds because of the range mask color, we're going to go to our color, hit that box which has the white and X, and it's going to start to give us this select a color pop-up. Over here we're going to start painting just a little bit with some red and see how our image is going to start becoming more red just with that tiny tool. So let's take a look. What happens if I delete this adjustment? If I come back to it, I feel that I want it just a little bit more dramatic, so I'm going to go back to my eyedropping tool. There we go. You can click on the eyedropping tool as many times as you want just to make sure that the effects that you are doing do affect the areas that you want. And here you can adjust the saturation if you want more or less. Right now I do want more to give that contrast in between the orange trees and the yellow trees. So I'm going to close up my masks and take a look at the before and the after. Here's the before, here's the after. I'm going to do one more additional effect, which is I'm going to paint in with the K, your hotkey K. That's going to bring up your brushes, and I'm going to paint in a little bit more light on this area to bring it more to life if you want to give it that extra punch. If you feel that this is good, good for you, you're done. For me, I just want to give it that little bit of extra punch over here. You can just toggle this more to the right, more to the left, add a little bit more contrast, why the heck not? I think around there. And now I am satisfied with my image. So let's toggle before. You have this image which was completely grayed out, and your after. It's so beautiful. It pops out. Marta, oh, she actually sent some awesome messages. Yes, it was last October 2019, the last day of foliage. No wonder, Marta, you managed to get such amazing colors out of this. Yes, I'm so excited to see all you can do to recover the image I saw, and I couldn't catch it with my phone. No worries. You know what? Tomorrow, as I mentioned, we are going to be having a special edition of Snapseed versus Lightroom, and just checking out how these colors affect the image. If you do want to join us, here is the information. It's going to be tomorrow at 12 p.m. and that is April 19, 2020, and we're going to be able to take a look at how to adjust this same image using different tools within Snapseed. You can see it right there. That's me live just playing around with it and toggling the before and after. Now the great thing about the Snapseed software is that it's completely free. So as I was mentioning before, if you are interested in a free solution to fix your photo, Marta, please remember to join us tomorrow at 12 p.m. live so we can give you a tutorial on how to adjust the same photo with a free app directly on your phone. Okay? So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you guys joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the description. Remember to hit that subscribe button. It helps me to give you more free tutorials. If you have any questions on photography, on photo apps, on photo softwares, send them over to this email, myphototvnyc@gmail.com. I will try to get back to you as quickly as possible. Bye everybody, enjoy and have an awesome photographic day.